I've often thought about how interesting being on a road trip is. The adventure isn't about the destination and finally getting to the place you're looking for. Instead, it's about the places you find along the way and the interesting things you get to see. Humans have since were able to walk on two legs, sought adventure and exploration. It's a fundamental part of human civilization, from as simple as trying to find out where's over the next hill, or as crazy as finding out what lays beneath the blue waves of the ocean or out in the deep black of space. Humans like to discover things. With the invention of the automobile in 1885, suddenly people were able to travel longer distances without having to rely on horses or trains to get around. Now the entirety of the world was able to be explored in modern luxury, and this only became more and more present with the invention of roads and modern day cars. Now millions of people were able to take longer distance trips in a few days rather than a few weeks, and travelling from country to country was now possible. I myself have been on many car trips, mostly when I was younger when my parents would take me and my sister camping out in the bush or down in the ocean. Now that I'm older and my girlfriend and I travel frequently to go visit relatives or travel to the city for a night out, I started to wonder if there was a game out there that could simulate the exact feeling of driving and travelling, of both the exciting parts of the adventure or the mundane parts where all you can see in front of you is the open road as the headlights of the car illuminate the world around you. That's when I found Jalopy. Jalopy is slang for an old car in a dilapidated condition, meaning it's a hunk of junk that has no right anymore to be on the road. This hits close to home as it probably does for many others with their own cars. My car has had so many problems I couldn't even count them with the fingers on both my hands, but at the end of the day it has gotten me from A to B without fail. I may not love the car, but I do have a mutual respect for it. I felt this way with the car you were given in Jalopy by your uncle. It's an old Laika 601, which is based off the real-life Trabant 601. A Soviet-era car that was manufactured in Germany for almost 30 years. It's a reliable car as long as you take care of it. That's partly what Jalopy is. It's about keeping the car running long enough to help get your uncle from East Germany to Istanbul. It's a long drive, but you will go to appreciate the durability of the car as you fix and swap out the parts for new ones during your adventure. But there's a deeper level of connection to your car than just putting new parts in it. Most games nowadays have progression systems in them. Take Destiny 2 for example. Around about every 8 minutes a new weapon or piece of armour will randomly drop, sometimes less than that. It feels good to get that much loot, but it's only a precursor to getting the best kind of loot, the loot that requires you to grind and grind just to get it, and once you do, you feel like you have a connection to that weapon or piece of armour, but this can be replaced easily by something else that's far better later on down the track. With the Alaka, however, you can't replace it, but every new part you add to the car means for certain that you're making it more reliable and thus getting further down the long road to your destination. But why does Jalopy give me such an instinctive and very human experience? It's mundane, nothing ever really happens unless it's directly your fault. So why am I playing a game that on the surface may look as boring as watching grass grow? I have plenty of other games to play. I can keep leveling up my character in Destiny 2, I could be shooting at Nazis in Wolfenstein. Hell, I could be trying to play through Dark Souls or Sekiro, but I'm not. At first I thought it was simply because I wanted a game that didn't require heaps of reflexes, or something that wasn't too action heavy. But then I looked at these games, and every other game in my library, and I realised they are all inherently violent video games. I'm not going to go into the whole debate whether violent video games cause increased aggression in people that play them. I think there is a wealth of information out there that says it doesn't, and even when world leaders stand in front of the press and blame video games for mass shootings, I feel like they are woefully misinformed. But I do find it interesting that all the games that I enjoy playing have some form of violence in them. It's only until now that I'm exploring different games that aren't inherently violent that I've realised that. But the question is, why is that? And how is this related to Jalopy? First and foremost, violence is a really easy way to cause and justify conflict. In most media, that being television shows, films, and even books, the threat of violence and destruction of peace is as good a reason as any to fight back, to protect the peace and the innocent. And that's even more prevalent in video games. Rather than sitting back and watching or reading about someone else saving the world, you get to save the world as the player, and this might mean using violence to achieve that goal. But the question is, why do we have to use violence? If violence is the easiest way to cause conflict so the player has a reason to use that violence to succeed, then surely it's a trope that's been overused. If you look at the biggest games on the market, they all have some sort of violence in them, which shows that violence sells. This creates a perpetual loop where the only mainstream games that are being developed are violent, which squashes artistic creativity for other genres of games to be created. But Jalopy shows you don't need violence to make a game interesting. The only conflict you have in the game is making sure your car can run and doesn't break down. It's not as exciting as shooting at something, but it's equally as rewarding. Getting your car from one town to the other in the middle of the night in the rain without a part breaking down completely, leaving you and your uncle stranded, is something to be proud of. There is no progression stat system or loot box system in Jalopy that is built to keep the player playing and spending more money. You sit down, play for a few hours, and that's it. You get your money's worth, and all in a game that has no violence in it. Now, as I said before, I play a lot of violent video games. I enjoy them and I don't intend to stop playing them. I think there are a lot more experiences and stories to be told through violent video games. But what I am saying is that both of us, the players and the developers making modern games, are stuck in the cycle of creating violent video games. I know that there is a lot of games out there like Jalopy that are focused on something else but violence, like building and keeping a car running. What I hope to see is more artistic games that challenge this trope and make us think about why we play violent video games. Thanks for watching.